Did you guys know we recently hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube? Well, we'd actually be at more like 6,000 if the 85% of you returning viewers actually hit the subscribe button. You scroll down just a little bit and there's going to be a subscribe button for you guys right here. You can even hit like on the video or share it with your friends too while you're down there. And our description box down below also has links to all of the different socials I have. And the best part is you can even leave a comment telling me how much you enjoyed the video, or didn't. I don't care, it's your life. Subscribing doesn't take anything but that 1 second of time, and it really helps make sure that you don't miss any of my uploads. So if you are enjoying watching all of my content, it helps you out, and it helps me out. Now that you've done that, let's get back to the video. What is up, everybody? Ninja Nick back with another round of the Champions League in Yokohama, Japan. Looks like we are backtracking just a little bit here. Well, I guess this is a second round 3 match that they're putting up because that first one ended so quickly. If you guys did not see the last episode, yesterday's upload, I highly recommend that. That was a crazy game to watch. Yeah, it just the way the game was won was really fun. It could have been won a different way that I think would have been a little bit more fun, but you guys check that out if you haven't seen that yet. I highly recommend that. That was probably the best game of Champions League so far, in my opinion. But it looks like we do have a Lost Box Giratina deck here on the left and something unknown on the right currently, because they do have a Spiritomb as the starter in the active. That will be shutting off the abilities of any Pokemon. Is it Pokemon? Yeah, it's Pokemon, basic Pokemon V abilities. I almost forgot what it did for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, is it Rule Box? No, it's not Rule Box. We are going to Jet Energy because we did start with the Cramorant. That will allow us to force our Comfey into the active spot and be able to use Flower Selecting to put one card into the Lost Zone. I do very much prefer it when they put their Lost Zone on screen like it is now, because in some of the other games, sometimes they have it off to the side, and they'll have the Lost Zone counter on screen, which you can see the one on the left side, but I do block the one on the right a little bit with my camera. But yeah, I like it when they actually have it on the board so that we, as the viewers, can also see it. And it looks like it is just a couple of Flower Selectings retreating into a second one, and then that's it for the turn. So, I mean, that's really all that you do as a Giratina deck most of the time, turn 1 anyway. Looks like we are playing Path to the Peak. There are some water energies. So what deck is this? Looks like I do see an Arceus V. Is this maybe just Arceus Vulpix? I'm not quite sure. I did realize that I can read the description box if I put it into Google Translate. So there's going to be a lot less translation issues when I'm watching the YouTube Japan Champions League matches. But we are going to go for the judge here, putting both players at 4 cards in the hand. That is really good to be used against this Giratina deck, just because it relies on having a large hand size, building it up with the Flower Selectings and the Chorus's Experiments. And it looks like we do find a double Turbo Energy, but do we have another Pokemon that we can accelerate to with the Arceus? Because we do have a switch, but I don't see... No, it's another Judge and a V-Guard energy. So just the pass here is definitely correct in my opinion. You don't want to Trinity Charge to your own Arceus and put it in the line of fire to a Cramorant like that. Just let your opponent potentially take the knockout on the Cramorant, and then you have the fresh Arceus with no damage on it for the next turn. So maybe you can just V-Guard it, Judge, and hope that you find like Arceus V-Star at the very least off of your Judge. But that is also one of the downsides of the Arceus deck. If you have to rely on Judge as a draw supporter before you even get your V-Star power off, it can just brick. So a lot of the times these Arceus matchups are just, do you find the V-Star turn 2 or do you not? If you do, you usually have at least a decent chance of winning the game, but if you don't, you usually just cry. But it looks like this is an escape route from the opponent here. We are going to be able to force that Arceus into the active spot, so Sorry to my friend Alan, the pastor of the Church of Arceus, but this Arceus is not looking like it's in the most favorable of positions right now. But it looks like we're actually going to continue just loading up the Lost Zone. We're not going to choose to attack with the Cramorant. And honestly, this might be correct. We're getting closer to Mirage Gate. We can just one-shot it on the next turn instead of hitting it for 110. Using the Abyss Seeking the first attack of the Giratina for 1 colorless energy. You look at the top 4 cards of your deck, Lost Zone 2. Put the other 2 in your hand. And yeah, what does Arceus do now if you don't have an Ultra Ball? Wait, is that an Ultra Ball? Did he draw an Ultra Ball for turn? I see something ball-shaped in his hand. It's a term I never thought I'd say out loud to the internet. We are going to V-Guard here. And yeah, we do have an Ultra Ball. We did top deck the Ultra Ball. We're going to get rid of the Judge as well as the Switch. Now what we can do is find the Arceus V-Star, use our V-Star power, maybe find Professor's Research as well as a Pokemon to put onto the bench would probably be the best 2 cards to get. Something that you want to charge up with this first Arceus. Maybe a second Arceus, maybe whatever your alternate attacker is. And I'm not sure what the attacker is. I would almost want to say that this is maybe a Chien-pao deck, but it couldn't be because you can't charge up Chien-pao with the Arceus. So yeah, one of those cards being a Nest Ball, using that to thin the deck of 1 additional card. And it looks like it's Hisuian Goodra. I haven't seen any metal energies in there. I thought that that was all water energies, but looks like this is an Arc Goodra deck. So this is actually a really good spot to be in. It's very hard for the Lost Box deck to go through a Hisuian Goodra V-Star. But they can always Star Requiem, and that will get through at least one of them. It looks like we must not be playing Professor's Research, so we're going to go for the INO instead. That seems pretty mid in my opinion, but at least you're drawing some more cards, so that's not too bad. We also have Box of Disasters is really good tech against the Gardevoir decks. I think it would be a lot better. No, I would not put that on the Goodra. I would put that on the active. I guess the active has the V-Guard on it already, right? So I guess the Box of Disasters is telling your opponent that they 100% have to use the V-Star power on the Goodra. But yeah, I think, like, no matter what, they're always V-Starring a Goodra to knock it out. Unless... I guess unless they boss knock it out before it evolves right now, right? So that would be the concern. If we see boss's orders lost impact, then the Box of Disasters ends up working out on that Goodra. So maybe this will be a good spot for them to be in, maybe not. But we are going to put 1 water energy to the Arceus, as well as both 1 water and 1 metal to the Goodra. We are going to use concealed cards, getting rid of a psychic energy in order to draw an additional 2 cards with this Radiant Greninja. Escape Rope coming out, so we will be able to move ourselves into a different active Pokemon, probably a Cramorant, no, not the Cramorant, probably the Comfey, in order to Flower Selecting again. Just dig a little bit deeper, get that Lost Zone a little bit closer to 10. 10 does allow you to use your V-Star power of the Star Requiem to auto-knock out your opponent's active. It also allows you to get to the Sableye, which is the choice going into the Lost Zone, surprisingly. But if it's a choice between Colress's Experiment and Sableye in this situation, you're probably playing 2 Sableye. You might as well choose the Colress's Experiment. And it looks like we might have gotten the second Sableye off of this Colress as well. Both of these decks playing Path to the Peak, so the V-Star power of the Arceus is an ability. It has already been used, so I think neither of these players will be using Rulebox abilities for the rest of the game unless it's specifically that Radiant Greninja, so makes sense to just Lost Zone the Path to the Peak. You do not need it in this matchup at this point. You want it earlier in the game before the Arceus V-Star comes out. Had you had it that previous turn, it would have been great. But you're just finding it 1 turn too late for it to end up mattering. We are going to Mirage Gate to the fresh Giratina V-Star we have here on the bench that is undamaged. We are going to use a Jet Energy to put our Comfey in the active and Flower Selecting. Getting rid of a Colress this time. The other card must have been a lot more important. And I really do not like those rainbow cards. I'm glad that they got rid of those in the current format, because I'm ready for those to rotate out. I think they're really ugly, and it's really hard to tell which card is which. It's been a problem for stream games all of the time. Thankfully, I can tell because of the way they don't have any glare on the screen, thankfully. Ooh. Okay, so we are bossing up the Giratina V-Star that is undamaged, and now we can actually Trinity Nova to it, softening it up, and now both Giratinas that are in play have a significant amount of damage on them, both being at 180 apiece. And now Sui and Goodra V-Star can actually one-shot either of them, or finish them off at least. You can't one-shot. If you're two-shotting something, it's not a one-shot. It's a two-shot. So, Goodra can finish both of them off. That's what I'm trying to go with. And I like the way he spreads the energy out. One energy to each of his Pokemon in play. That's a pretty good way to do it. The only thing here is that you really want to get your Goodra into the active spot on this next turn. Because otherwise, you're still sitting able to be lost impacted. But I guess with that box of disasters, you are making it so they can't lost impact. So probably maybe just trying to deal with these Giratinas with the Arceus first. But nope, we are just going to go boss up the Goodra. And this is going to be a problem for both players here, because this I guess this Giratina V-Star does not get knocked out here, right? So it takes the 8 damage counters from the box of disasters. So I almost think maybe you should have just retreated into the Goodra on this last turn, but Giratina could always play around it. They could always just go escape rope boss in order to get into the same position again. Oh, and it looks like we are going to go for the V-Star power instead of the lost impact. Okay. So not going to take any damage counters here. I think it would have been fine to lost impact, actually. You just needed one more energy on the active. But I guess that would force you to Mirage Gate on next turn instead of just attach a grass for turn. So, I mean, I can see maybe why you went for that, but I think the V-Star power would have been a lot more useful on this V-guarded Arceus V-Star. Because again, the Goodra does have 270 HP. If you're bossing it up, and the box of disasters does not knock you out. You lost impact it. You just take some amount of damage that's negligible because your opponent still has to do one more attack to knock you out. So yeah, I think that might have been a misplay from this Giratina player, but again, I don't know what's in their hand. Maybe they really had to do that to conserve the energy, but your active is getting knocked out either way, so you're doing it just to save one energy on your benched Giratina? It doesn't seem that good. Like, you have one extra energy in play by using your V-Star power at the inopportune time. We are going to finally get a Bidoof down for this Arceus deck, so they might be able to evolve into the Bibarel and draw some extra cards in future turns here. But the thing with that is that we could now actually see a Sableye come down, put 6 damage counters to the active, and then 6 damage counters to the Bidoof, take 1 prize going down to 2 remaining, and now you've effectively rendered the V-Guard useless, and then can lost impact for the last 2 prizes. Either that, or you could lost impact this turn, and then try to clean up with Sableye on the next turn, but that would be hoping your opponent does not find the Bibarel. But I still think this is very winnable for the Giratina deck. In fact, I still think it's favored for the Giratina deck, even though they're not in the best position. But yeah, I definitely would just go for the knockout on the Bidoof, 6 damage counters, or at least 3 damage counters to the active. Maybe 3 damage counters to the active, and then 3 to the one that has 2 basic energy on it, in case that one also evolves into a Arceus V-Star and gets a V-Guard energy on it. That would make a lot of sense. We do Mirage Gate. We are now fully loaded on the Giratina. Just hope that your opponent just does not have boss so that you still get this last Giratina V-Star's lost impact off. All we have to do now is attach for turn to retreat, or we could use a switching card. It would be really nice if we had a way to heal Giratina, but unfortunately, Cheryl is not usually played in these decks. It's not very good. We are going to attach the water energy to retreat into the Sableye, and yeah, I think the perfect way to spread the damage is 6 to the Bidoof, 3 to the active, and then 3 to the Arceus V with the 2 energy on it, because it's the only one that can currently be V-guarded and still attack. You could always V-guard the other one, but then it can't attack, so leave yourself the ability to knock out 2 different Pokemon. And yeah, it looks like that is exactly what we're going for. I really like this play. I've definitely had plenty of experience playing against Arceus with Lost Box, for sure, so I know exactly where those damage counters need to go with Sableye. And this also renders Sharon's Care useless too, because again, if you are going to be switching into a different Pokemon and still being able to V-guard it, you would do it to the one that has the 2 basic energy on it. So yeah, and the Sharon's Care is in hand. Yes, so we've played around Sharon's Care. Played around the V-guard, played around the Sharon's Care, and now your opponent has to have exactly Boss to even knock out the Giratina. So yeah, you're forcing them to have Boss and punishing them if they have Sharon's Care. And this is really rough. So what they could do is they could still Sharon's Care to get the damage off the active, go into the undamaged one and put a double turbo on it. But then it still dies to Lost Impact because it has exactly 280 and you weren't able to attach V-Guard. So it looks like this player on the right, I do believe, is actually conceding. A lot of players in Japan don't actually concede games. I usually see them play it out right into the end, especially if they're on camera here, but it looks like we are going to go for the concession. This player with Arceus has realized that they have lost and is just gonna save themselves a little time. Maybe they can go grab a snack between rounds or something, and yeah, that's all there is to it. That was pretty well played from the Giratina player, except for that Star Requiem I still don't agree with, but it ended up working out fine in the end. So as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and we will see you guys next time for the next round.